I made like 100 today, but was hungry and looking real bummy today. You was bony and looking too funny today. I don't care, niggas still make change. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the Chatting with Cheeze podcast. I'm your host, Fat Cheeze, and y'all already know the motto: no gimmicks, only the real. This is episode 32. Y'all know what I need from y'all. Smash that subscribe button, like and share the content, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So the Super Bowl is set. We got our matchup for the Super Bowl. So it'll be a rematch. You got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. So before I go ahead and get into what I think is going to happen in the Super Bowl and give you my predictions and previews and everything like that, I just want to do a quick recap of the NFC and AFC championship game and give you my thoughts on that. So the first game I'm going to start with is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Commanders. The Philadelphia Eagles won that game handily, 55-23. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the winning side like I always do. You know, we got to get them they flowers first since they were the one to take the W. So Jalen Hurts was 20 of 28, 246 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions with 110.1 QB rate. He had 16 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns. With 3 touchdowns on the ground. Saquon Barkley, who played out of his mind as what he's been doing all season. He gave you 15 attempts for 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Will Shipley gave you 4 attempts, 77 yards, 1 touchdown. A.J. Brown finally got his groove back. Him and Jalen Hurts finally seemed like they started to get they act together and get on one accord. A.J. Brown gave you 6 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. Dallas Goedert gave you 7 receptions, 85 yards, 0 touchdowns. Devontae Smith gave you 4 receptions, 45 yards, 0 touchdowns. So I'm going to start off with the Philly offense first. I felt like Philly kind of dominated this game on both sides of the ball, but I love what I seen from their offense. Saquon Barkley came out there and played amazing. First time they touched the ball, he had a 60-yard touchdown run. Off the rip, they set the tone early. I love what I seen from Jalen Hurts. As far as, you know, he came in questionable as far as his injury, how would his knee look or whatever the case may be. I think he answered all the questions. I kind of felt a little bit when he tried to scramble, he was a little less explosive than he normally is, but for the most part, I felt like he had a hell of a game as throwing and rushing the football. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground, but they came from the tush push from like the 1-yard line. But hey, no, 2 of them was a tush push, and 1 of them was actually a quite acrobatic run where I think he scrambled around a little bit and then ended up going into the end zone. But all in all, their offense looked great. I felt like coming into this game, there was a lot of question marks on the passing game. How was, you know, you had everything with the book situation and A.J. Brown complaining about not getting targets. I felt like they answered all the questions. You know what I'm saying? As far as with the throwing, Jalen Hurts, the only knock I could say on that entire game for Jalen Hurts was I felt he did hold on to the ball a couple of times a little longer than he should have because you had A.J. Brown on the outside, one-on-one coverage, but it was one pass he hit A.J. Brown down the sideline. It was an absolute dime. He hit him right in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? But the most impressive thing to me was just that defense. Now, the reason why I'm going to give a bigger notch to the defense over the offense is because we all have watched the Washington Commanders throughout the year, but in the last 2 playoff games heading into the NFC Championship game, the Washington Commanders were absolutely smoking on offense. Smoking. They just came from putting up what it was it 45 on Detroit. Even though I understand Detroit had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, they still put up 40-some points on Detroit. And that offense has been, you know what I'm saying, on fire the back half of the season. Mind you, Jaden Daniels put up 5 touchdowns against this same Philly defense a couple of weeks prior. You know what I'm saying? So they came in riding high. And I felt like just off jump, Philly defense set the tone. Tom Brady kept saying it over and over and over in the broadcast that it felt like Washington had to literally work for everything. Philly didn't give them nothing easy. They forced 4 turnovers. One of them was a special teams turnover, but they looked awesome. Zach Bond, who to me right now is the lead man for Defensive Player of the Year, he had 8 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a forced fumble. Orion Burks had 5 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. And he played a big role because we got to remember he's the replacement for Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean went down, I believe, was it the first playoff game I think that they had, but they lost Nakobe Dean. So Burks had to step in and fill in that gap, and I felt like he did that. Quinyon Mitchell, who I felt like had an awesome game, mind you, coming into this game was battling with, a shoulder injury. He had to exit the game against the Rams and didn't return. He looked like ain't nothing never happened in that last game against the Rams. 2 solo tackles. He had an interception late in the game. I felt like at that point the game was kind of over. Jaden Daniels just threw a ball up kind of like a punt return. He went up and made a spectacular interception. Nolan Smith, who's been having a phenomenal playoffs as well, he had 2 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. And that's what I said when I gave my previews and my predictions on the last week going into the NFC Championship game. I said that the difference between what Washington faced before and what they were facing going into this week is you have 4 guys on that defensive line in Philly. They don't have to blitz. I watched that entire game, and I didn't feel like that they blitzed that much. You know what I'm saying? If any, they can get home with 4. When you got Jalen Carter, who's the best defensive tackle in the game, well, you could argue between him and Chris Jones. I don't know. That's up to y'all, but one of the best defensive tackles in the game. You got Big Davis in the middle. You got Nolan Smith, who's playing out of his mind. Then you got Sweat on the other side. You got 4 guys who can get home, and you don't have to bring, extra, leave your back end, one-on-one, because you got guys that go. So your linebackers can actually go out there and cover, and you seen that. And it's like they came in with a game plan. If you notice, every time they went out there, Washington, they ripping at the ball. That's how the De'Ami Brown fumble happened. He trying to get extra yards, and I understand, but in some situations, you got to be willing to, just lay it down. He trying to fight for extra yards. Zach Bond punched the ball out. On that kick return for McNichols, they constantly punching at the ball. That's just, it's like, and same thing with the Austin Eckler fumble. To me, that put the nail in it. Austin Eckler catches the ball, goes down, tries to gather up, and get some extra yards, and they just constantly punching at the ball. That's one thing that I noticed throughout the game. And Philly just, I feel like they just dominated on both ends. I never felt, after that fumble from McNichols on the kick return, I never felt the game was really close at that point. But it was a hell of a game from Philly. This is what I asked, and I wanted to make sure I emphasize this. Can Jalen Hurts please start getting some love now? Can he please start getting some love now? People find all the excuses in the world to not give this man no credit, and I don't understand it, because all he has done is won. That's all he's done is won. Since he's set, his first year in the NFL, I think they made it to the playoffs. They ended up losing like in the first round to the Bucks. But after that, since Sirianni has been brought onto the fold, all they've done is won. Even tracing back to Alabama, won. Oklahoma, I don't understand. Now in Oklahoma, they didn't win like no national championship or nothing, but they had a good record. But Jalen Hurts, he's been winning, and I just don't understand the flack that he gets. And people like to use these excuses. Well, look at all the talent around him, or all he got to do is hand it off to Saquon Barkley, or he got A.J. Brown out there. He got the bro. You need teams to win. Name me one person out here besides Brady. Brady made guys look better than they actually were. I give you that. But besides Brady, why didn't you never heard other guys getting flack for having talent around them? But we want to put this flack on Jalen Hurts. We didn't give Peyton Manning no flack. Peyton Manning had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark. Peyton Manning had constant teams around him. Even when he went to Denver, one of the best defenses. Thomas on the outside. He had teams. Aaron Rodgers. When Aaron Rodgers won his Super Bowl, he had Donald Driver, Greg Jennings. He had Jordy Nelson on that team. All these guys have talent around him, and let's not forget, Brady played with some guys too. Brady played with Randy Moss. Brady played with Gronk. Even let's throw Brady out of it. Even if you don't want to mention Brady, look at Patrick Mahomes right now. Patrick Mahomes, did he not play with Tyreek Hill? Did Patrick Mahomes not play with arguably the greatest tight end ever? He's had him basically for his whole career. We got to give Jalen Hurts some type of credit, bro. All the man has done has won. And I think Nick Sirianni quoted something like that after the game, but all he's done is won. Jalen Hurts deserves some credit, bro. Especially after that game on Sunday, coming out there, battling injury, you know what I'm saying? And to go out there and to make some of the throws and everything he was making. But Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Whether you view him as a top 10 quarterback or whatever you want to view him as, Jalen Hurts, we know one thing. Jalen Hurts is a winner. This team is going to their second Super Bowl in 3 years. These are his numbers as in his playoff career. Jalen Hurts has a passer rating of 93.1 with 1,592 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in 8 games in his playoff career. Bro, that's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. I just think Jalen Hurts gets a lot of, you know what I'm saying, unwarranted hate towards him. I don't know if it's because he the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles or because people want to blame. But, bro, that's what Howie Roseman, that mean that front office is doing their job. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put the best talent possible around your quarterback for him to succeed. That's the goal. And he's succeeding with that. I don't see where the hate comes from. I don't see where the hate comes from at all. But, like I said, for the most part, Jalen Hurts is a winner. I don't want to keep going on with it, but no matter what you want to say about him, Jalen Hurts is a winner. So please stop with the unnecessary hate towards Jalen Hurts. They going to another Super Bowl. I think Philly has I'm going to get into that on my next topic, but I think Philly got a shot. Philly has a very good team front, you know what I'm saying, on the offensive side and on the defensive side. The offensive line, the center, I can't think of his name right now, but he should be good to go by the time this 2 weeks is going to be good for them because, you know, Jalen Hurts with that knee, I know they said Saquon was dealing with something, I think, with his quad. Not with his quad, but with his, I think it might have been his quad or his lower leg. So this 2 weeks is going to be good for them. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think Philly, I'm going to get into it in the next subject. Let me go ahead and let me talk about the Commanders next. I'm going to get into that on the next subject, what I think about Philly. But on the Commander side of things, it was pretty rough. Jaden Daniels, he went 29 of 48, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had a 72.8 QB rate. He had 48 yards on the ground with a rushing touchdown. They got virtually nothing from the running game. Brian Robinson gave you 11 attempts, 36 yards, 0 touchdowns. Austin Eckler gave you 8 attempts, 15 yards, 0 touchdowns. He did fumble, and he had 17 receiving yards. Zach Ertz was Jaden Daniels' best friend in this game. He had 11 receptions, 104 yards, 0 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin had 3 receptions, 51 yards with a long touchdown that he broke. But for majority of the night, Terry McLaurin was in a seatbelt. I ain't going to lie to you. Other than that 1 touchdown, he really didn't do a lot. De'Ami Brown gave you 3 receptions, 42 yards, 0 touchdowns with a fumble. Olamide Zaccheaus had 4 receptions, 26 yards, 0 touchdowns. And Ben Sinnott had 1 reception, 23 yards, 0 touchdowns. And that was the fake. They had a fake punt where Tress Way threw it to Ben. So that's where his yards came from. But for Washington, I felt it was a struggle. I think this was the best team that they had faced all playoffs. I think that Philly just made it hard for him. Philly just made everything difficult for him. We're not giving you nothing easy. We're not going to allow Terry to take over the game. They really couldn't establish a run game. I didn't like some of the play calling. I didn't like the fact that they kept going back to the screen game after they realized that it wasn't working. But the turnovers, it all boiled you down to the turnovers. The turnovers is what killed them. You know, that De'Ami Brown, they went down on, I think it was an 18-play drive on their first drive. They were driving. Dan Quinn, I don't understand. Going into this game, I said that In order for Washington to have a shot to win, that they was going to have to stick to their guns of what got them to this point, which was going forward and converting on fourth downs, taking those chances, trusting your quarterback. I didn't like the fact that you get all the way downfield into the red zone and, you know what I'm saying, you've been converting fourth down after fourth down, and then you decide to kick a field goal, which gave you a 3-0 lead, but then Eagles turn around and their first play, they go down in 20 seconds and score. Now you up against it because they got all the momentum to score 7-3. The stadium is buzzing. And then you turn around and you had a fumble by De'Ami Brown. And then that kind of put you in a hole. But I felt like they could have bounced back from the De'Ami Brown fumble. Even though it was 14-3, they go back down on another drive. I think they got another field goal out of that, which made it 6-14. And then I don't remember exactly, but I know despite everything going on, before going in the half, before the McNichols fumble on the kick return, it was 12-20. So despite all of that happening, without the McNichols fumble, and they went down right before half and managed to get a field goal. So just imagine if the fumble from McNichols never happens, then we could be talking about something totally different. Not saying they would have won the game, but it could have been, you know what I'm saying, way closer than when it was. But the De'Ami Brown fumble, but that McNichols fumble was just, it was at a terrible time. It was at a terrible time. For you to fumble at that moment, like I said, you only down 12-20. It's not like the game was out of reach. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the game had gotten away from you. At that point, once you get the fumble and then they go back down and score, then that's when I felt like the game started to get a little bit out of hand. But I just feel like it was the turnovers. But if I'm being realistic, no Washington fan or even the Washington player, you shouldn't walk around with your heads down. This was a hell of a season for you guys to go from winning 4 games last year, you know, with new ownership, new GM. You brought in a new head coach and Dan Quinn, offensive coordinator, so many free agents. You basically had a whole new roster. And for you to go from winning 4 games last year, having a number 2 pick, to making it to the NFC Championship game that following season, that's nothing to be, you know what I'm saying, to be upset about. I understand it's frustrating. You 1 game away from the Super Bowl, but this was a hell of a season. It was a hell of a ride. And I think that going forward, Washington is going to be solid. They going into the offseason with, I think, almost like $100 million, $90-some million in cap. You got your franchise quarterback. You got a couple of things that you just got to tweak and build on, and I think they'll be okay. You just ran into a buzzsaw. That's all it was, and I think the mistakes, they started to rear their head as far as with the defense. Everything started to rear their head. I mean, honestly, a lot of people didn't pick them to get past Detroit, but you seen that their defense couldn't stop them, and their defense had no answer for Saquon. And I think I might have made a mistake. I don't think Saquon scored. I don't think he scored 3 touchdowns. I think he only scored 2. I got to double fact check that. I think he scored maybe 2 because I know he scored 1 on the first one, then he scored another one down at like in the red zone, but I don't think he scored 3 touchdowns. I may have made a mistake on that one. I think Saquon only scored 2. Jalen Hurts scored 3, all 2 tush pushes and 1, and then they back up. Will Shipley had 77 yards for a touchdown, but that was like late in the game. The game had already been over by then, but it was complete domination on the Philly side. I think Philly just came in. They knew that they had the better team. They knew you could tell they went in the film study. They didn't let Jaden Daniels kill him with his feet. He did score a touchdown on the ground, but it was late. They didn't allow Terry McLaurin to get off, and they didn't allow Washington to get nothing over the top. Everything was underneath, and I think that's why you seen Zach Ertz have a big game. But Philly's moving on. Washington, unfortunately, they went home, but you don't have nothing to hang your heads over. Hang your heads over. I think that moving forward, Washington will be okay, and we may see them back in this same predicament in another year, maybe next year or the year after. But they gonna be there for the long haul. Moving on to the AFC Championship game, you had the Kansas City Chiefs victory. Kansas City Chiefs 32, Buffalo Bills 29. We're gonna start with the winners, of course. Like I said, it is what it is. Everybody tired of them winning. my motto is you gotta beat them. At the end of the day, that's the end of the story. People want to talk about the refs and everything like that. You gotta beat these boys. Patrick Mahomes went 18 of 26, 245 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, he had a 111.9 QB rate. He gave you 43 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Kareem Hunt gave you 17 attempts, 64 yards, 1 touchdown. Xavier Worthy had 2 attempts on the ground, 16 yards, 0 touchdowns. Pacheco gave you 5 attempts, 12 yards, 0 touchdowns. On the receiving end, Xavier Worthy gave you 6 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster gave you 2 receptions, 60 yards, 0 touchdowns. Hollywood Brown gave you 3 receptions, 35 yards, 0 touchdowns. Travis Kelce was a no-show. He gave you 2 receptions, 19 yards, 0 touchdowns. And Samaje Perine gave you 1 reception for 17 yards, and that sealed the game. He had a quick out, like he went out and, you know what I'm saying, got the first down. That basically sealed the game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Defense stepped up huge for them. Chamari Connor, cornerback, had 5 solo tackles and a forced fumble. Drew Tranquil, the linebacker, had 3 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble. And Michael Donna had 2 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. Honestly, crazy. Chris Jones really didn't really do too much in this game. So Kansas City, 7 consecutive AFC championship games. They're trying to be the first team in NFL history to three-peat and win 3 championships in a row. Like I said, Kansas City just being Kansas City. Watching that game, I felt like Buffalo had a shot. But the defense made plays when it needed to make plays, and we know Patrick Mahomes is just Patrick Mahomes. He gonna find a way. Whether it's using his feet, throwing the ball through the air, he gonna find a way to get it done. One thing we gotta know, and I tell everybody, when you go up to Kansas City, you gotta beat them. You can't leave it to chance. Everybody want to talk about the refs and the refs helping them and all that. I understand. Sometimes they may get some calls their way. We understand that. But when you go up to Kansas City, you got to beat them. And I think Buffalo had chances. They had a lot of chances. But I felt like Buffalo was a little bit too conservative in that second half. You had the amazing catch by Mac Hollins. They went in the half down 21-16. But I felt like coming out of half, they didn't do enough. The Amari Cooper trade, I'm not gonna lie, it seemed like it was kind of awful because Amari Cooper really didn't give you anything. Josh Allen had a solid game, but when you go into Kansas City, that's a different animal. I picked Kansas City to win the game. I didn't have them losing in the AFC Championship game. The Super Bowl could be a different question, but it's unfortunate, man. But like I said, salute to Patrick Mahomes, salute to that team, Andy Reid. This is the new dynasty. This is the new Patriots. What they got going on, if they could somehow manage to win this 3rd championship in a row, they can go up there as the conversation as one of the best quarterback coach duos of all time. Just the things that him and Andy Reid have accomplished together. But for Patrick Mahomes to not get that much production from Travis Kelce, his best receiver today was Xavier Worthy, the rookie. I don't know how all them teams managed to allow the fastest receiver in the draft to land with Kansas City, but it happened. He was Patrick Mahomes' best receiver for the day, but for the most part, Patrick Mahomes got it done on the ground using his feet with the 43 rushing yards, and then Kareem Hunt contributed. But for the most part, I mean, Kansas City, the Buffalo kind of, I mean, if you just watched if you just looked at the stat sheet and everything, I mean, you would have thought Buffalo pulled this game out. Time of possession, Buffalo won that. Total yards, Buffalo had 374 to Kansas City 368. And passing yards, Buffalo had 227 yards to the Chiefs 233 yards. Rushing yards, Buffalo had 147 yards to the Chiefs 135 yards. Buffalo did turn the ball over, but if you kind of look at it, it kind of reminds you of the Buffalo and Baltimore game where you felt like Baltimore beat themselves kind of, but at this point, it's just like, what can Josh Allen do? Josh Allen has tried to do everything in his power to beat this man, and it's like he can't. He just can't do it. He can't do it. And this is what I need to know, and this is to all the NFL teams out here. I don't understand for the life of me how we going year after year after year after year. All these coaches, these hot coaches, and everybody, these teams hiring these different coaches. I want to answer this question. Why is Steve Spagnuolo never in the conversation for a head coaching job? This man puts a solid defense on the field year after year after year after year. They winning championships. I never hear this man's name come up in coaching carousels or being brought up for interviews for other jobs. Never. Now, when the Eric Bieniemy situation happened, I kind of understood that because I looked at it, well, yeah, he the offensive coordinator, but Andy Reid calling the plays. Why is Steve Spagnuolo not getting called up for head coaching jobs? Chris Jones alluded to it. He said that he hoped no teams never call him because they just going to keep winning. But 7 consecutive AFC championship games, on their way possibly to winning 3 championships in a row, and this man don't get interviews. I never hear his name brought up, and coaching opportunity. Like, that's weird to me. That's weird to me. I don't understand. I want to ask that question. Y'all comment down below and let me know what y'all think. But I want to know why Steve Spagnuolo, who's constantly putting solid defenses on the field, and mind you, they're losing guys. Like, every year on their defense, they losing guys, and every year this guy manages to put solid defenses out there, but he's never mentioned in head coaching jobs or is a popular candidate to become a head coach. I don't understand it. Y'all comment down below and let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel. But the way I feel, that's awful. Some of these front offices, they just not paying attention. But on the Buffalo side of things, Josh Allen went 22 of 34, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, 104.7 QB rate. He gave you 39 rushing yards on the ground. James Cook had 13 attempts, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Ty Johnson, 6 attempts, 19 yards, 0 touchdowns. Mac Hollins gave you 3 receptions, 73 yards with an amazing touchdown grab. James Cook gave you 3 receptions, 49 yards, 0 touchdowns through the air. Khalil Shakir, 6 receptions, 46 yards, 0 touchdowns. Amari Cooper, 4 receptions, 33 yards, 0 touchdowns. Keon Coleman, 1 reception, 12 yards, 0 touchdowns. And Dalton Kincaid, who I'm going to talk about in a second, he gave you 2 receptions, 13 yards, 0 touchdowns. Like I said before, talking about Kansas City, I don't know what more Josh Allen could have did. I think Josh Allen played a hell of a game. I think that he did everything possible that he can do to pull a victory out, and it just didn't happen. And sometimes you just get that. Sometimes people just have your number. Kansas City has Buffalo's number. And it's unfortunate because Josh Allen is a great quarterback. I think Josh Allen deserves to be the MVP this year. It may go to Lamar. I don't know. But Josh Allen, it's been heartbreak after heartbreak anytime he had to go to Kansas City. And I know it's frustrating, but you just got to go back to the drawing board and see what you can figure out to do to move on and, get over that hump. But he's 4-1 in the regular season against Patrick Mahomes, but he's 0-4 in the playoffs. You had the one time they went to Kansas City, the 13-second thing, and it's just been heartbreak after heartbreak. I feel bad for him, but he did everything that he can do. And I mean, honestly, for Buffalo to even get to this point, kind of same thing like with the Commanders, not exactly the same, but coming into the season, I don't think nobody thought Buffalo would end up in the AFC Championship game, losing Stephon Diggs, their best receiver, not knowing what they were going to look like as far as weapons on the outside with receivers. They ended up bringing Amari Cooper in, but I don't feel like that did too much. But for them to end up in the AFC Championship game, the defense, they always kind of put out a solid to good defense. But for them to end up here, I think is a good thing. I think, it was a great season for them. But at this point for Buffalo, it's kind of like make it to the Super Bowl championship or bust every year. And it's back to the drawing board, especially when you have a quarterback of this caliber who, you know what I'm saying, you don't want to waste all these years. But when you in the same conference with Patrick Mahomes, bro, it's hard because, believe it or not, regardless of what people think, the Super Bowl going to the Super Bowl in the AFC is going to always come through Patrick Mahomes. Point blank, period. It's always going to come through Patrick Mahomes. And I seen a quote, and I can't remember who said it. I think it was Ryan Clark. I might have seen it on Twitter or something like that. But it's going to be a lot of quarterbacks with gold jackets with no championships in this era with Patrick Mahomes. But that's just how good he is. I mean, it sucks. I know a lot of people say I'm tired of seeing him in the Super Bowl, but in order to get there, you got to beat him. And right now, the only team that seems to got the formula to beat them boys is Cincinnati. But like I said, I think Josh Allen, they had a great year. That pass, that fourth down play to try to, you know what I'm saying, keep that drive going. He got pressure in his face. He rolling out to his right. For him to even it looked like he just threw the ball up, and for it to be that close, and Dalton Kincaid unfortunately dropped it. I'm not going to pile on Dalton Kincaid. It probably was a harder catch from watching it on TV than actually being out there on the field. But for Josh Allen to even give his guy a chance just shows you, with the pressure in his face, that just shows you the greatness of, you know what I'm saying, the greatness of him. But Dalton Kincaid, I know it's a rough one. That one is going to hurt a little bit because the ball literally hits you right there. You know, but that's how things go sometimes, man. So Kansas City's moving on. Buffalo is unfortunately going home. And now we're going to move on to the next topic. My preview and predictions for the upcoming Super Bowl. And I'm sorry I'm not saying the number because off the top of my head, I don't remember what number Super Bowl this is. But you got a rematch of the 2022 Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So let me give you my numbers. Let me give you the stats and everything from that 2022 Super Bowl. So the Chiefs end up winning that game 38-35. Patrick Mahomes went 21-27 for 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, 44 rushing yards. Isaiah Pacheco gave you 15 carries, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce gave you 6 receptions, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster gave you 7 receptions, 53 yards, 0 touchdowns. Kadarius Toney pitched in 1 reception, 5 yards, 1 touchdown. Sky Moore pitched in 1 reception, 4 yards with a touchdown. On the Eagles side of things, Jalen Hurts went 27-38, had one of the best games of his career, 304 passing yards, 1 touchdown. He gave you 70 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns on the ground. He was their best runner that game. Devontae Smith gave you 7 receptions, 100 yards, 0 touchdowns. A.J. Brown gave you 6 receptions, 96 yards, 1 touchdown. Dallas Goedert gave you 6 receptions, 60 yards with no touchdowns. Eagles led that game at 10 at half, and Kansas City ended up coming out of half and taking a lead and winning that game. Chiefs right now currently are favored by 1.5 by point and a half, half a point, 1.5, a point and a half, however you say it. Chiefs are currently favored. My preview of this game, I think what this game is just going to come down to, it's going to come down to the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. Can you stop Patrick Mahomes? And can that Kansas City defense contain Saquon Barkley? And I think that you're gonna see that's gonna be the determining factor of the game. Can that Eagles defense do enough to slow down Patrick Mahomes? And can that Chiefs defense do enough to slow down Saquon Barkley? Because if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm going into it with the mindset of I refuse to allow Saquon Barkley. I refuse to allow Saquon Barkley to win to dominate this game. I'm gonna put the ball in Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna make Jalen Hurts beat me. If Jalen Hurts can beat me with his arm, I'm willing to live with it. Now, if Jalen Hurts come out and look like how he did just now this game against the Commanders, then they got a shot. Because I think they're going to do everything in their power to take Saquon Barkley away. Now, we haven't seen a team be able to do that all year, so that's easier said than done. But I think they're going to do everything in their power to stop Saquon, and Jalen Hurts is going to have a phenomenal game. I think he's capable of doing it. I think that Jalen Hurts can You know what I'm saying? Make a couple of throws here and there. Do what he need to do. He could also use his legs. He gonna get this rest off, so that knee should feel a whole lot better. Improvise with his legs, make some throws. My only thing with Jalen Hurts is you gotta let the ball go, bro. When you see you got AJ Brown or Devontae on the outside cover 1-on-1, you gotta let that ball go. But I think if I'm Kansas City, I'm going into it with the mindset of we're not gonna allow Saquon Barkley to dominate this game, and on the offensive side, we got to get Travis Kelce involved because you're not dealing with this Philly defense is for real. I think they're the #1 rated defense in the NFL. You got Quinion Mitchell on the outside. You got Slay. You got C.J. Gardner-Johnson back there. You got Cooper DeJean, who's been having a hell of a rookie year. You got Blankenship, who can get an interception. You got Zach Bond, like I said, who to me it should be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. So you're gonna have to get your guys going. You're gonna have to get Travis Kelce going early on offense. You're gonna have to get D Hopkins involved. Hollywood Brown is gonna have a solid game. The Chiefs, that's what you got to do on the offensive side. And like I said, the defensive side, you just can't allow Saquon Barkley to beat you. For Philly, you just got to try to get as much pressure on Patrick Mahomes as you can and take away Kelce, take away those big plays. You know they're going to try to do some gadget plays with Xavier Worthy. Take that away. And on the offensive side of things, you just got to spread the wealth. You got to get AJ involved. You got to get Devontae involved. You got to get Dallas Goedert involved. Mixing in there with Saquon. Use Jalen Hurts. Use your feet. That's how I think. That's what I think. I think the keys to this game is going to come down for both defenses. Can you stop Patrick Mahomes from being special, and can you stop Saquon Barkley from dominating the game? My predictions for this game, and people gonna call me crazy. I pondered over this for ever since after Sunday. I pondered over it and today. People gonna call me crazy. I don't got a score prediction. I'm going Philadelphia Eagles over Kansas City Chiefs. And the reason why I'm going Philadelphia over Kansas City, I love Patrick Mahomes. I haven't picked against him all year. The reason why I had a sway, and it's just in my heart to pick Philly, is because I think Philly just has an all-around better team. I think Philly just matches up so perfect all around the board. With the greatness of that offensive line, if Jalen Hurts is playing his A game, you got Saquon Barkley, who's the best running back in football, who's had a dominant, amazing year, with A.J. Brown on the outside. If him and Hurts are clicking, they hard to stop. With Devontae Smith, if he can get it going, with Dallas Goedert. Then you flip it on the defensive side. Jalen Carter, like I said, dominant. Davis, they can get home with 4. Nolan Smith has been having an awesome playoff. That linebacker core, if you can get the same production that you got from Burks in the Commanders game this week, in the Super Bowl, you got Zach Bond, you know what I'm saying, with Quinion Mitchell on the outside, to me, who's had one of the best rookie seasons as a corner that I've seen, a top corner in the league. You got him on the outside with Darius Slay, who, you know what I'm saying, he get burnt a little here and there, but he make plays with that back end with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Blankenship, DeJean giving you production. I just think all across the board, Philly matches up so well with Kansas City, and I just think that when it comes down to it, I just think Philly has the better team. I think Philly can stop Kansas City. Philly can stop Kansas City in crunch time when they need to get a stop. I think better than, and I just gave Spagnuolo all his credit. That's the crazy part, but it's gonna be a chess match. It's gonna be a hell of a game. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm going Philly over Kansas City. I haven't seen anybody that has watched football this year and these past years, you could tell that this year this isn't the same Kansas City Chiefs team that we've been watching or that we're used to seeing. They haven't really dominated anyone. So I think if it's a close game or whatever the case may be, if it ends up being a close game, whatever, I give the edge to Philly just because Saquon Barkley is playing out of his mind, bro. Like Saquon Barkley is having one of the best running back seasons I've probably ever seen in my entire life. And this is including seeing Adrian Peterson. I don't know if I would put him above. I ain't gonna lie. The year that Saquon Barkley having this year, I might gotta put him above Adrian Peterson. But oh my God, just the way he's playing, I don't understand. And Thibodeau, the who just was arguing with Dez Bryant, don't come for me, bro. But I don't understand how in the world the Giants allowed this man to walk out the building without paying him. And I'm not saying he wouldn't be doing the same thing with the Giants, but just to fathom that you got to sit back and watch what he's doing. He's basically led the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl, and he's playing this good. It got to hurt to some capacity, bro. But he's playing out of his mind, and I find it hard for any defense. I don't care. I find it hard for any defense to stop him at this point. That's how high he's riding right now. So I just think it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a hell of a game. I cannot wait to watch. I cannot wait to see it. But my prediction right now, if I had to say today at this very moment, I'm going Philadelphia Eagles over Kansas City. I don't have a prediction. If I had to pick my MVP for the game, if Philadelphia wins, I'm gonna go Saquon Barkley for Super Bowl MVP. But that's my preview of the game. That's my predictions. That's what I think gonna happen. Y'all let me know down below in the comments what y'all believe gonna happen. You know, how the game turn out, your predictions, who you think win, who you think gonna win the game and why. And you know what I'm saying? Leave it down in the comment section and let me know what you think. Last but not least, we switching over to the NBA bag. We switching over to that NBA bag. All my NBA fans, I know y'all been waiting, y'all ready. Football season is we at the last game of the year for football, and you know we gonna move our focus on the basketball. So this Miami Heat Jimmy Butler saga continues. So yesterday, Jimmy Butler was suspended indefinitely by the Miami Heat again. Well, this is the first time he's been suspended indefinitely, but it feel like every week he gets suspended for something. So yesterday, Jimmy Butler was suspended indefinitely by the Heat after walking out of practice. Butler has been suspended for the third time this month by the Heat. The team said that Butler left Monday's morning shoot-around practice early in advance of a game against the Orlando Magic, something the team called intentionally withholding services. The suspension is without pay and indefinite for now. Butler has missed 14 of Miami's last 19 games entering Monday, including 9 of the last 12 because of suspension. The first 7-game ban for conduct that the team deemed detrimental, followed by the 2-game suspension. Butler has lost at least $3 million in salary and counting since the latest suspension is also without pay. Since then, because of the suspension, the National Basketball Players Association has said it plans to appeal the first suspension, which means Butler could get some money back. So this situation is crazy. I believe he walked out of practice yesterday after finding out in front of the team that he wouldn't be starting. I just feel like this situation is crazy and it has gotten out of hand. I see it from both sides, honestly. I see it from Jimmy Butler's side. He's made it clear that he wants out of Miami. Him and Pat Riley have been going back and forth for a long time, and I think he's just tired of it. I think he wants it to happen sooner than later. He's ready to get out of there. I don't think the fans no longer want him there. It's a distraction to the team. And I see it from Pat Riley's side because Pat Riley trying to show Jimmy Butler, look, I don't care what you want. I don't care what you asking for. You can do everything you want, pout, do this and do all that. I'm going to show you that I'm still running things here. Pat Riley, the same one that, you know what I'm saying, took the cookies off the plane and got LeBron mad. So you know he don't care. You know he don't care nothing about no Jimmy Butler. But I just think this situation needs to get fixed and resolved, and I think it needs to get resolved soon. There's no way Jimmy Butler makes it past the trade deadline on February 6th. I think Jimmy Butler will be out of there. Now, the question is, what is Miami willing to take? I seen a report that said Miami now, they have lowered they've lowered their asking price substantially to just try to get Jimmy Butler out of there. So now it's willing to see what teams are willing to give up. I don't know if the Suns, how the Suns can facilitate things. I know the Suns have been very interested in bringing in Jimmy Butler, but I don't think Miami wants to take on that Bradley Beal contract. And if they bring on a third team, there's no guarantee that Bradley Beal will be willing to waive his no trade clause to go to that third team. So I think that's going to be the struggle. I've seen reports of Golden State being interested. I think that'll be a good move for them, to add him with Steph and try to get that thing back going. I've seen a lot of teams, but the main entering, I seen Philly could be sneaky. I seen something about Memphis, but then I seen him say he don't want to go to Memphis. It's a lot. But I know the main two teams have been the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. I just think that this thing needs to get resolved. I think that at this point it has become a distraction for the Miami team, despite no matter what they think. I like Eric Spoelstra. I think he's one hell of a coach. But eventually enough is enough. It becomes a distraction. I think the best bet is for them to just go ahead and move on from Jimmy. Because, you can't suspend them. It seemed like every week Jimmy Butler is being suspended, and it's just now, it's getting ridiculous. I don't know how the thing will go with him trying to get his money back. The Player Association is going to try to fight for him. But Pat Riley, man, we leaving with something. You putting us through all this, we going to hit your pockets. So, I feel like in a way it could have been handled a little better by Jimmy. But at the same time, I understand. He made it abundantly clear that he no longer wants to be there. And I think he's just trying to speed that process up for them to get him out of there. But I also understand it on Pat Riley's side too. This is my team. I'm not going to allow you to show me up. I've never allowed a player to show me up before, and we not going to start now. So I understand it from both sides. But I think, like I said, there's absolutely no way in the world that Jimmy Butler is a Miami Heat past that February 6th NBA trade deadline. Crossing my fingers for it to be the Phoenix Suns that he go to. But we just got to wait and see. But that's it for today's episode, man. I appreciate all y'all for tuning in every week, locking in with me, man. Y'all know the motto, no gimmicks, only the real. I need y'all to continue to smash that subscribe button. We on our way to 200 subscribers. We almost there. We right there. Also, do not forget to like and share the content. Follow me on all socials. Y'all know where to catch me at, man. Comment below, interact, whatever y'all need to do to get at me, man. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all next time.